Welcome back to day 2 of Adobe Live with Erin here. In case you guys are just joining in, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'd love to know where you're coming from. We're in San Francisco. Erin, where are you from?
I'm actually joining from, well, I'm here, but
Yes.
I am from Brooklyn and live there.
Yeah, so she's come a long way. In case you're joining us, if you missed us yesterday, we started working on wireframes and visual design for a plant care app.
Yep.
Erin will tell us a little bit more about that. We used responsive resize to go from mobile to tablet and explore how that might work. And today, Erin's just gonna jump right back in and flesh out more of the visuals. We're using Adobe XD today, so if you guys aren't familiar, I think that you guys know since you're tuning in, but that's the program we'll be using. Let's see, Grid is from Germany. We got Portugal. Let us know where else you're coming in from. So yeah, Erin, for anyone who's new today, do you want to give us a little intro on who you are, where you're tuning in from? We're connecting a mouse because that's very important.
That.
No, that's very
Yes,
important.
no, I can do both. I'm stealing Dohi's mouse right now.
Yes, I'll turn off my Bluetooth.
So I am Erin. I'm a senior product designer at Squarespace, and that is a platform to help people build really beautiful websites easily. In the past, I've also worked at Etsy, Twitter, and I've consulted with companies like American Express and New York Times. So a lot of good places with lots of people to design for. And let's see, that's me. And so I guess we'll really quickly overview what we did yesterday in case you're just tuning in for the first time. So what I talked about was sort of, it's called a double diamond approach to the design process. There's a lot of articles about it. Feel free to Google it if you're interested. But essentially it means it's like 2 large areas that you have to explore. So first, you're looking into the problem that you want to solve, and you're exploring a lot of different problems that you might be able to solve, and then you're refining the ones that are super important and that you really want to focus on. And then the second phase of the process is exploring a lot of different ways to solve that problem, and then narrowing in on the solutions that you like the most, that your users like the most, and really refining like what the look and feel is. So yesterday we went through the exploration of the problem. We landed on focusing on designing a plant care app for people that live in apartments specifically, because apartments have like a lot of unique problems like small spaces or different types of lighting. And we wanted to make sure that our solution included both care information for the plants that you may or like you're interested in having or already have in your apartment. So like watering and things like that, as well as the ability for you to sort of like log the events, log the growth of your plants, really sort of keep track of the milestones and your growth from maybe somebody who didn't know anything about plants all the way to someone who's like a total rad like plant diva.
For sure. And what you guys are seeing on the screen here is some of like how Erin was using XD, and it doesn't need to just be for clickable screens or anything like that. Just using the artboard as her kind of brainstorm and research documentation tool.
Exactly. Like I was saying yesterday, you could even just start off by having these sort of like Post-it cards here for you. In fact, I made a template that I can share afterward where it just has the high-level Post-it cards to remind you of the phases that you might want to go through. And the other nice thing about having this all in one place in XD is that when you're designing your solutions, you can go back and refer to things really easily and say like, am I really doing that thing that I meant to do? Because we can kind of like get off course pretty easily. Yep. And you can refer back to like really early ideas you had if you're like, what else could I kind of do with this interface? So it's great to have it all in one place. So we went from the sort of like discovery aspect of like why are plants good, but also why are they hard? And then we synthesized that information here, which I just went over. And then we explored, I showed how like there's a lot of early exploration that's kind of just for yourself, that's messy sketching, like not precious at all. And then what I like to do is I'll look through my messy sketches. There's a lot of things that are crossed out, but then I'll highlight ones that I want to say like, okay, I definitely want to try this one.
Yeah.
So that's what these are. They still don't have to look great, but it's just like a synthesis of the ones.
Every step, it kind of gets more and more materialized, or like clearer.
The fidelity gets a little bit higher, your confidence gets a little bit higher, so you're not just like starting with a blank slate where you're like, what do I make right now?
So what did we do yesterday?
Yesterday, what we landed on, and I went back and cleaned this up just a little bit in terms of spacing. But so yesterday we started off and we just had the mobile version, right? We just had a couple of key screens for mobile that we wanted to explore. And then we landed on the mobile version and the tablet. So what we have now is there's a tab for care, which tells you here are the plants that may need attention if it's time to water something, and then here's the log of the things that you've done in the past if you want to sort of look at the growth of your plants. And
kind of like a news feedy sort of for your plants.
Exactly. And you know, you may test this with people and they might be like, that's boring. I just see it just says watered 3 plants like again and again and again. It could happen. So like this is like a best case scenario where they're doing a lot of stuff and there's photos and waterings and like comments. So if you find that people aren't doing that, you might have to pivot this and change it into something else. So.
And what are we looking at here, Erin? Are these wireframes? Kind of what stage of design would you say this is? And how do you plan to kind of take it, what would be your next steps?
Yeah, so these are definitely what most would consider wireframes. I would also call them wireframes, but they're super high fidelity. To me, they're pretty close to what I envision the layout being. That's not to say that it can't change once you put visuals in, like the branding. But I try to get my wireframes a little closer to what I want the final to be.
Same here.
Especially since we did all that work up front, right? Like getting to the sketches we liked. So let's see, we've got the care tab, we've got a place where you can find things that you might be looking for, and then we've got the information card where you see just like the really high level details about a plant you might need in order to say like this is good or bad for my lifestyle and environment. And then we can add the plant to our library so that you can get reminders.
Yesterday we spent some time again going from the mobile screen and going to tablet. And I think this was one of the screens where you did make more of a shift in the layout too, right, for the tablet.
Yeah, especially this one here where
this one.
It felt like on mobile it made more sense to stack the information and the photo of the plant, and then on tablet you have so much more, especially in landscape mode, more room to really show off the picture.
Yeah.
So this is just one idea for how maybe we could change up the layout to better support the difference in space. Let's see, what else? We also talked about like how on a large screen, you're probably not gonna want such, the ratio of the images should change, right? And so 2 columns feel appropriate here, but maybe on tablet, we'll have 3 columns and the pictures will be a little bit bigger. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes from like, personal judgment calls, but also can be finessed through testing and
totally.
I think when you do a lot of these, you kind of have a sense.
Yeah,
too.
you do. You start to get like a sense of like type sizes, and it's funny when you switch from like designing. I've noticed when I switch from designing like apps to designing websites, I'm like, wait, what's the type size I usually use? And it takes a little while to like get back into the mode of. It's like muscle memory almost. But I figured out why my math was wrong yesterday.
Yes.
So we had this moment where we were like, okay, I'm going to show you guys this cool trick where like when you want 3 columns, this is how you do it without having to know math. And
we failed.
We failed, and I realized it's because I like thought that this margin was going to be over here too. But so I really want to quickly say, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm gonna do it now. So if you want 3 columns, right? You click the artboard, you see what is the width of our artboard. It's what, copy that, it's 1112. You're gonna click this box and then just pretend it's like the full width, and then you subtract the margins on either side. So right now we have 60 pixels here, 60 pixels there, so I'll do -120 to account for both.
Yep.
And then you have to think to yourself, what do I want the margins to be in between the photos? And so that's another margin. So like I want these to be 30, so it's like 30, 30, so I'm gonna also do minus 60. And then you're just gonna do divided by 3 once you get that number.
Nice.
And that's how you get the exact.
I like that you're just doing the math directly, like in the
thing.
form.
It's so amazing that you are. Oh, that's my dog. It's so amazing that you're able to just like do that without a I remember I used to have to use a calculator. Blah blah blah. So great.
So Joss is saying the navigation seems off center, a quick spot.
Oh yeah, it does look
Yes.
off center. I don't know what happened there.
And I think, Erin's going to be working on the visual design today, but I think she's also likes things centered.
Yes, I definitely like things centered.
Nice spot.
I know. Like drag it until we get that. Sometimes it's hard when they're like little lines and there we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Looking good.
Good spot. Thank you. I think it actually did that in all of them too.
Oh, nice.
Well, no, it was like
I was
wrong.
gonna say,
in
it's
all
not
of
set
them.
up. It's not set up as a symbol. We could set it up as a component.
It's funny. It was a component on mobile. I feel like.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know how.
It's okay. We messed
Either
with
way.
a lot of things yesterday.
Either way, let's get these. Oh, well. This is part. I will say, like the finessing of these tiny details is definitely. One of the joys or pains of being an interface designer. There's a lot of like moving boxes and nudging, but I really do think that the details are what make things really great.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's our job, right?
Yeah, it can be really satisfying too. You're like, yes, this is like exactly aligned, and that's why I showed you the 3-column thing because it's like so satisfying to get it perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I think
math
this is
does
like the
not
last
lie.
last one to go. Group, please stay selected. Yes.
So I know yesterday we had yet to come up with a name for this app. Have you decided on a name?
There were a lot of good suggestions. I'm trying to remember. Like
I liked Plant Parent.
I know that's like the one that keeps coming to mind. Like
That was really good.
we could do Planned Parenthood. I think there was also
something
maybe something like Happy Thumbs.
Yeah. If you guys have any other suggestions today for the app name, that
And I'm gonna remind myself that I need to design that too. So we'll just put it over here. The app name.
Yeah, like
some sort of splash page, maybe.
like an onboarding screen or something.
Cool.
But yeah, so today, kind of starting with these wireframes, high fidelity wireframes, Erin's gonna move into applying visual styles.
Yep.
We don't expect the app to be just black and white squares and fonts, although it looks quite nice and clean.
It's very minimal.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have some pictures of plants though.
Yeah, so we'll be adding those in and just bringing this app to life today. I think Erin had shared some early visuals with us yesterday.
Let's look at those again.
You'll want to walk us through kind of your inspiration and where you think you're headed. I think we won't really know until we jump in.
Exactly. And I don't know, I'm one of those it's hard to know until you start playing around with it.
For sure.
But it's nice to have this springboard of ideas to try. And some of these are very aspirational. Like if I were working with an illustrator on this project and there was the budget for that, you could show this illustrator your mood board of illustrations and then they could really help bring it to life. If you don't have the ability to do that, maybe just keep it in your back pocket for when you might be able to collaborate with someone in the future. Like maybe you meet someone who wants to just work on a project for free with you.
I love illustrators.
I know.
I envy illustrators so
cool.
much.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we have?
Planned Parenthood is, people are finding it.
People are into
funny.
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
I can be down with that. Okay. So what do we have? The things that I called out that I kind of was drawn to, at least, what I like to do is look at both non-related apps, related apps, and then also I'll show you to the right. I also like to pull just photos and graphic design in general, not related to apps.
Just anything that kind of catches your attention while you're thinking about this.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to that point, I will say, when you're trying to apply a visual design, for me, it's not something that I gather all in an hour and just get going.
Sure.
You kind of, it's sort of in your head, and when you are thinking about it throughout the week, you'll see things and you'll be like, oh, that menu, at this restaurant could actually be, there's an element in here that I really like that could be cool. Maybe you like a certain typeface. or like this was at a coffee shop that was filled with plants. So I was like, okay, cool. Like maybe we could use some of their look and feel in this. And we may not, but this is just sort of a place to gather ideas.
For sure. Yeah, similar to how my art boards look too. It's just like a dump of like anything and everything that catches my attention that I might want to refer to. And I think it's nice, like sometimes I know people use like Pinterest or things, but I like having it on my artwork because it like, first of all, then I don't start browsing when I'm like online somewhere. It kind of gives me like a fixed set of, sometimes too much inspiration can be paralyzing. So.
Absolutely. Like I've definitely gotten to the point where this area here is like twice as big, and then I'm just like, oh my gosh.
You're like too many stimuli.
Yeah, it's just a lot, and then you start to feel overwhelmed. So try to keep it to just and you can get a lot and then sort of cull it and say like, these are my favorites. But yeah, try to keep it reasonable where you can at a glance be like, okay, I think I can kind of get a sense of what I want to try to explore. So that being said, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to click Save As to basically make a new version of this document so we can sort of retain where we left it on day one, sort of like V1. And I'm going to get rid of copy and say Adobe Live Day 2.
So you're gonna kind of build on top of your files, right? So you want to keep a copy of.
And you don't have to, but in this case, like at some point, sometimes I get like, I just want a clean start.
Oh, for sure.
So sometimes I do like to have a clean start. And I'm gonna hit.
I keep my wires separate too, just so that
in case you need to get back to them. And then it's also a place to just like explore more layouts in the future via wireframes. So I am gonna go up here and actually
like clean things.
Like clean. It does feel kind of satisfying to be like, okay, I'm gonna focus on
just the visual.
Just layer. The visuals right now.
For sure. And I think while Erin's doing that, I'm gonna do a quick plug. We'll be doing a chat and win in about 12 minutes. So stick around, guys. We have a prize for those of you who are around, and just chime in and let us know what you guys are thinking about this plant app.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see, what kind of look and feel we're gonna have.
I'm excited to see what happens because I
don't know.
I don't know. I haven't explored it yet. I also want to just really quickly remind myself. So this isn't like the full app. The things that you also want to make sure, if you are really truly building this for people to use, like make sure there's some sort of, remind yourself, like I need to have some sort of onboarding explaining like what it is and briefly how it works. Don't assume that people know, even though they've downloaded it. You also want to make sure you are covering what we call empty states. So like what happens, so this is cool, like this is somebody who's had a bunch of activity, but what happens when this is blank and it's the first time they're coming there and they don't have anything to see? And then another important thing for this app specifically is what we call like permissions sort of prompts, because we're saying like you can get reminders, we're saying that maybe you can use your camera. So there's gonna be these moments where we have to say like, will you allow like
Planned Parenthood too.
Exactly. Us to send reminders and stuff like that. Like reminders, cameras. And then also what you might want to do as well, like along the same lines, is like what do those sort of toasts or what do the reminders actually look like on your phone? So we may or may not get to these, but I'm just putting them in case we have extra time and maybe we can sort of like work on some of these. So those are some of the extra things. Definitely not like all of the extra things, but important ones to think about for something like this. Okay, so here we go.
So what screen do you think you're gonna tackle first? Kind of how do you like to approach these kind of things?
That's a good question. I think yesterday I mentioned sometimes I really like to start with what at least I feel is the easiest one first, so that I can sort of like do it hopefully quickly and build like a sense of accomplishment. Let me see, what is the easiest one first here? I mean, okay, this is by far the easiest one first, I think. So like
it's pretty simple.
It's a grid of images.
Yep.
And what I will say is like one of the most satisfying moments in Adobe XD is when you drag when you drag in the images.
This is our favorite.
To the repeat grids. So let's see. I have a lot of options here. I'm just gonna see what I get when some of my friends have been nice enough to send me pictures of their plants.
Oh wow! So you have real photos.
Yeah. And so it's like we're designing with real content
Real user
in mind.
content.
Like, of course, it would be really amazing to have like these beautifully lit plants in here, but also we want to see what it might look like with like a typical person.
I think that's awesome because sometimes, you know, as designers too, we get. Number one, it takes us a while to find images that we want to use, and that's looking great already.
Yeah, like it's already like this feels
Wait, did
real.
you guys see how she just dropped it into the repeat grid? Let's do it again.
Yeah, and I can even use different ones. So like I'll just take a different selection. So you grab the images and then you hover over any of the squares.
Yes.
And then
it'll repopulate.
It puts in the images there.
It's amazing. This section blows my mind. I mean, feature blows my mind every time.
It's like magic. Let me do these ones again. All right, because like I love this one. The other thing to note is that if you do need to finesse, so like for example, these are just squares, but if you wanted to go in and finesse the location, sort of like reposition the photo, you just kind of have to like click a lot, like click a couple times until you see this. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how big this screen. I never look at this screen is so big behind us.
No, it's looking good.
Yeah, so
You get to see in detail what you're doing.
Exactly. So okay, that is how you drag images in. I wonder what would happen. I'm just curious. So I didn't mention this yesterday, but there's a keyboard shortcut that I really, really like, where you basically just copy the style of the thing over onto the style of another thing. So for example, let's say I want to change this name Erin Nolan to like the smaller style here for some reason. So I hit Command C to copy it. And then like normally if you hit, Command V, it just the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you want to just copy the style, you click on the item that you want to copy the style to.
Yeah.
And hit Control Command V. Wait, why isn't this working?
Maybe it's because it's in the group?
Oh, I was wrong.
Oh, there
Sorry,
you go.
Option Command V. This is like muscle memory.
Yes.
Option Command V,
Oh,
and then
wow.
you copy the style, and the same thing goes for
That's
images.
cool.
So you can hit Command C on an image, and then Option Command V, and see now it's like it thinks that I want all of them to
In
be
the
that
repeat
images.
grid, yeah.
But like that's a really quick way to just like copy either text styles or image styles into.
That's awesome. I did not know about that shortcut.
Yeah, it's great. So let's see. I always get tripped up when my dock doesn't appear. And then we're gonna drag these in here too. So we've got this great library already.
Oh my gosh, that already looks great.
Yeah, I think I am gonna just go through and start adding images as
Yeah.
like my sort of easiest first step. This should be interesting. I'm not like convinced that this area for the photo will translate, because if you look over here, it's kind of like there's like a circle and it's kind of a square
crop.
square crop, and then this is very like
Vertical.
Portrait.
Yeah. I know. I always
What
get
are words?
tripped up.
I really need this to appear faster. So let's just see. Actually, I don't think I have a picture of a jade plant off the. I don't think I do, but we'll just pretend.
Yeah,
it's a
we'll
jade
just
plant.
pretend it's a jade plant. If anyone knows the actual name.
Wait, no, this
said
is a jade plant. Okay, so I'm gonna do it right here. I'm gonna copy this because that's a thing, and then I'm gonna click on this and hit Option Command V. And it didn't work because this
you
is
just got
actually
the
a
fill.
cover. Yeah, this is the cover fill to make it darker. So I'll try it one more time. Put the cover back on. There we go. Okay, and so I'm just gonna go like this.
Oh yeah, there's a jade plant.
There's a jade plant in all its glory. This is at the Squarespace office. We are very plant friendly. This is one of my coworkers' plants, actually.
Ooh, it's a very healthy plant.
Shout out to Zach's jade plant. Yeah, no, it's super healthy. There is like one in the corner down here that fell off. I'm like,
it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, with this app, it'll never happen again. So, cool. This is great, and I
think adding the photos just already gives it like so much more life. So I think popping them in there first is a good call.
Totally.
And you can kind of then, determine some of the other brand elements around like the major content, which will be the photos from the users.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say also, Maybe with the plant detail page, like I think it would be your photo once you add it to your library, but maybe I'll go back and put more of a stock photo in here up front because
you might not have that photo.
Yeah, like maybe I want it to feel like this is sort of editorialized and like the app has its own pictures of the plants. So
in like a specific style maybe that you might want.
Like ideally it would all be in the same style. So then what I was thinking for this too maybe is like, you ever see the things where like, oops, I keep pasting the same thing. The background is the same image, but it's just like blurry.
Yes.
So this is the same image, and I love this feature. You can go over to background blur over here, and so like you're like, it disappeared, but you just gotta sort of back off the
kind of mess with it.
Yeah, I don't actually. No, you know what it is? It's object blur. So object blur, you can make it like indecipherable, which we don't really want, or just maybe something like.
Yeah. I love that how you can like leverage the same image asset, but you know, have it play multiple functions to add like just interest and texture.
Totally. And I think if I hit fill, this is maybe gonna turn black. Yeah, so that's the one thing is with these images, sometimes if you want like an overlay on top of them, you can't just, the image is the fill.
Yeah.
So you would have to just
create like a mask
Command D, duplicate it, and then I just sort of turn that into the fill and sort of say like, okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm putting a darker fill on top of it is to make sure that this white arrow shows up. So we'll see. This may not be the most scalable solution, but it works for me.
But yeah, it's good to keep in mind because I think, you know, this photo, it works well because it has a dark background or has that dark texture area, but it could be any of the other photos we have with the white wall.
Exactly. So you really have to be aware of that and make sure you sort of like pressure test your designs.
It's a good word.
Let's see, what do we got for these? I do wish I had pulled a couple of like real, maybe let's see what we have in Adobe stock.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So like some of the things that I want, maybe I'll do like a jade plant. Let's see if I wonder if they have like any collections of
like
things
succulents
that look
or something.
Yeah. Let's see what happens when I click into like, I don't know.
Yeah, what kind of style do you like? Which photos are you responding to?
Well, I'm just curious. See how they have sort of like other
photos you might like,
that
basically.
Are similar.
Yeah.
So that could be a way for me to grab pictures I like. But I feel like I could spend so long doing this. Okay, so
sourcing stock photos is a whole nother game.
Whole thing. So for now, I'm just gonna use the pictures I already have. But maybe if we have time, we can look for consistently styled photos that would appear if like the company itself were shooting them professionally.
Yep, for sure. So it's almost time for our chat and win. So I guess for today's chat and win, tell us, do you guys have plants at home? What kind of plants do you have at home? Like, let us know.
Yes, please.
I've got a big rubber tree that I've successfully grown for about 5 years. She's taller than me.
My rubber tree, so it didn't have enough light and it just got so long and like sporadic that I gave it to somebody who had more light.
Tell us, guys, what plants do you guys have at home? Do you guys name your plants? I do name my plants. My rubber tree's name is Ellie.
Yes, and that's why you can name the plant in the app too.
Burrow's tail. Ooh, I've never heard of that.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That's cool. I wonder if it's in like the Adobe stock photos.
I went to look these plants up. Yeah, we're learning a lot about plants too. I only know like the hand like jade plant and fiddle leaf plant. That's about what I know. They've got some plants in the fridge. That's great.
What?
I think that's just vegetables.
Oh, has anyone ever put a plant in the water and like
propagate
propagate
yes.
it? Yeah, that's fun.
That's our whole kitchen sill right now. We've got some air plants. Ooh, avocado, chili and grape, aloe.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, fig tree. Oh my gosh, Voodoo Val got 40 figs. Holy crap.
What?
But yeah, let us know. It's almost time for Chat and Win. We'll be right back. Yay! Yay! You guys have told us what plans you've got going on, and now magic works in the background to pick our winner for Chat and Win. So who is our winner? I think it'll show up on here in a second.
5.
Yeah. We got some aloe. Oh, dead
Jessica,
pansy.
my friend Jessica.
Oh no. Oh, there.
Sorry.
Sub Peep has a melon. Holy crap! How do you guys grow those things? Yeah. Thanks for letting us know. And our winner for our Chat and Win. I only want
one sticker.
I think the winner gets 100 stickers.
Oh my gosh.
And Santaji, you are our winner today.
Yay!
The live team will follow up with you, I think privately through Behance, and just let you know how you can claim your prize. And for everyone else who is, watching this live stream today, you guys can get a deal from Sticker Mule to get your own stickers as well. We were just talking about how we need more stickers. I need to get some stickers.
Oh, you can put them on your notebooks, your laptop. Although I'm kind of like a laptop purist.
Like clean laptop. You can put on your notebook. We are both notebook people. So yeah, check out this link above, and you guys can get a discount on specifically for Adobe Live.
I love it. Cool.
Oh, and I think, we're going to jump back into this plant design, but near the end of our stream today, we're going to be reviewing portfolios. So if you guys are in the live chat, which you guys are, if you see that portfolio review tab, if you want to submit your portfolio for us to review together, just make sure you guys submit it. And I think the deadline is in like an hour. And we'll see who's we get to. Yeah, I know.
Yes, that's gonna be.
You guys do amazing work, so we'll see you guys there in an hour.
Totally. You know what I'm actually gonna do because this is just for fun and just like we're exploring what this might be. I'm gonna go to the Sill because I know that is a company that they focus on plants. They have really pretty. This is like kind of what I envision maybe in a perfect world where you have what I would say like are consistent images. They have like the same look and feel, and it's not to say that you can't get that from stock at all, but it just takes a lot of time. So sort of imagine that I'm just gonna come in here and screenshot these.
I often do that for like if I'm working on projects where we haven't shot yet, or the client's looking for direction on kind of how they could shoot their images. I'll use these placeholders, and just obviously these would not go live because we do not have rights to these.
Exactly.
But it helps, I think, people who need that like visual.
Yeah, they're like, what are you talking? What do you mean?
Yeah, like when you're like simple, neutral background.
Exactly.
We can visualize it because we're designers, but I think a lot of people, that's not their strength. So showing them kind of close to what you're imagining, as as close as you can really help communicate your idea and like sell the vision that you have for this app.
Exactly. So I think we hopefully got at least 6. So let's see, go into the desktop, and I believe these are all them. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is already starting. I don't know what is that one? I think I just accidentally screenshotted only gray.
The background.
I could get rid of this. Let's bring this one in here. Cool. So this is starting to feel like, okay, this is sort of the area where you're showing me
kind of like inspiration, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're curating things for me. Let's see if I can just, for now, take those same ones.
And these are like Planned Parenthood branded photos, in theory.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna actually, for this one, go backwards so it looks like they're kind of
different.
They're the same images, but
hey, it looks different enough.
It looks different enough, exactly. And then maybe I'll like, that one's like right there.
Let's switch that one out with something else.
Copy this one over here. No. Maybe. Oh, that's all right. We'll just keep this one.
We'll just ignore it.
What is this one over here, though? Oh, that's Jessica's.
Is that one of the real user-generated pics?
I mean, I could literally just go back. Oh, here we go. Perfect.
There we go.
All right, cool. This is awesome. And then I'm going to copy this, paste it over, copy that, paste it over.
Cool.
I wonder why I can't just...
Maybe you have to click on the, there you go.
There we go. If you double click into it, you can get just the thing.
Yeah, Josh is saying he's loving the light beige kind of neutral background on these images. Really helps give it a, nice and warm feel.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like, this is one way to start your graphic design. If you're gonna say that the images are the hero and I kind of want this neutral color background, then maybe you can figure out what the rest of the product looks like in relation to how you want these images the same sort of look and feel.
For sure.
And the nice thing about the neutral background is hopefully it gives us a lot of room to play with the graphics. So along those lines, I'm actually curious what happens, and maybe all of these will change because it's a repeat grid, and that's gonna be a moment when you have to like ungroup it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit that shortcut again. I think it's I. Yeah, so I'm selected on this. I'm gonna hit I, and I'm gonna see what happens when I grab like one of the colors from these photos. And so what it did, I have a border on these. What it did is it turned all of the backgrounds that color, which I don't want. So because we've gotten to a point where we're pretty sure this is how we want the layout to look, I am gonna go ahead and ungroup it so that when I make a change, it doesn't get applied to all of them.
And you're thinking that these blocks might now use color instead of imagery?
Maybe. So like the thing, I've seen a couple of examples where you just sort of like change the color of the blocks and maybe there's like a light pattern on the back of them. And I do think it's nice to sort of differentiate between these are the moments when people can see the items, and then maybe these are just the branded moments where it's like, we don't want to overwhelm you with more leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
But these
and the pictures themselves might not be like integral to like communicating that, like easy for beginners. Like what image would we have for easy for beginners?
Exactly.
So kind of getting rid of that like decision-making process as well, it could be.
And I've seen this in a lot of like meditation and health sort of like mental health apps where they've got all these categories, and it would be really like, it starts to get, sometimes it gets a little bit unscalable to imagine you'd have an icon for every single thing. Like, every time you have a new category, you have to come up with a new icon, and
if the illustrator was different, like
exactly,
just consistency and style.
Totally, so it's hard. So what I think a great workaround for that problem is just what these places have done here is like, you can use color, you can use an abstract sort of pattern.
Shape and color, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, you don't have the same like emotional, it's not as great, I think, as like having really dedicated either iconography or imagery.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a way to get started.
Yeah. And I think this goes back to what you were saying before. Every project has different limitations and resources.
Exactly.
And like, it's also kind of our job to leverage resources as much as possible, but also be realistic of what's scalable for our team or our clients or the project.
Exactly.
And thinking, it'd be great if we had amazing custom photography and illustrations for every spot, but most of the time that is not what we're working with.
Well, and when, if your product takes off, then you can change your, colors to have a really great illustration on them.
For sure.
It's just
always evolving.
Yeah, you're working toward your future vision in a way that's actually feasible. And the same goes for like when you're actually working with developers. You might have this great idea, and what happens is they'll talk to you about, well, like that might take 6 months. And, and if we scale it back a little, like it'll take 3 weeks or something. And so you'll have to sort of be okay with give and take, and it's not really a compromise, it's just like, it's just collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
The way you work with.
For sure. And I think it's those things where sometimes like things that seem small and trivial to us on the design front might have a lot more implications to another team, and just having those conversations to make sure we're building something that works for, works for the whole team or various teams.
Totally.
So how are you choosing your colors here?
Honestly, right now it's very random. I just want to see what happens. And so like bright light probably shouldn't be dark. So I'm just like starting to get something in there. And now, so here's an example. Like if we wanted to go with a yellow or some sort of like bright sunrisey color for this, you would definitely want to change the text to something darker so that you could read it. It doesn't have to be pure black. Like you can kind of make it blend in a little bit with the background by decreasing the opacity here. The same goes for this pink. So the other thing you could do instead of changing the text is you can just go into your color and sort of like drag it and play around with it until the white actually is more legible. And I like to, so when I need to make something darker, I don't like to just like take it down like this because it starts to lose. For some reason, when you go darker, you also want to add a little bit more saturation.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like a rule of thumb. And say when you want something lighter too, I often like desaturate it a little
so
bit,
moving
so
in
that it's not
of
like
V direction.
Exactly. So it's not like neon. All right. So easy for beginners. Well, beginners. I'm thinking green maybe.
Yeah,
easy
I
for
like the green.
I grab this and grab maybe like a fun green over here.
Yeah.
It's like exactly the same as the other one. This is a little too yellow, so I'm gonna start adding some like blue-ish.
We could spend, this.
I know.
This is the
this
hard
is like,
part.
Yeah. So
the whole thing has been hard.
No, but yeah, this is why I save these details for last, because look at how like easy as designers who value.
Yeah. And I think often, I don't know about your case, Erin, but before I get to creating high like fidelity designs like this, I'll often have like a style guide or like some sort of exploration before, so that we're not making all the decision on the fly. Like, it can be crippling.
Exactly. And this is like, this is exactly it. Yeah, I'm sitting here like sort of playing around with what these could be. But yeah, to Dohi's point, like it's much easier. Just like yesterday when I did all the pre-work before we got into the wireframes, it's like much easier if you have this already predefined. So I'm just gonna go. This is
okay. We're figuring it out together today.
This is like Candy Crush or something. All right, I need to stop. So this is good for now. Pretty wild color palette we have going on.
It's super pop.
We'll see. Okay, I'm just gonna add some more photos to the camera.
Cool. Give it a little more life.
Again, this makes me like very happy. I always keep the thing that I'm working on as a shortcut in my sidebar.
Oh, that's so smart.
And I like to organize, again with like not having a blank slate, I like to just have these folders automatically set up. So like an assets folder with any sort of imagery you get from the plan or what have you, something to house your research, your inspiration, maybe your sketches, and if you need to export screens, you can do that too.
Yeah.
So in my assets folder,
I have similar, like I do assets, creation files, like presentations, and then that structure is always there. It's always fun to see how other people set up their files.
I don't have a picture of a ZZ plant, but
hey, you could convince me that that is what it is. You got a great selection of plants.
This is a shout out to Jessica, who she was the person I mentioned yesterday who refused to water my plants.
Oh yes.
A few years ago because she was like, I kill plants, and this is her net. Like she has a jungle.
She is a plant master. She's a plant mama.
She is a plant master. Okay, so that's in, and then I'm gonna put these in here too. What?
It's always really nice to have real content to design with. I think that's a struggle for me. So much of the time you're like, oh.
Same with copy.
Yes, copy.
All right, and then we got this one. Cool. Pretty good. I'm just gonna copy
paste those. Nice.
Yep. And then
Jessica's laughing.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Jessica.
In all caps. Sorry, I shouldn't have like told people about how you refused, but it's
that's part of the
part
story
of
this app.
Lots of trial and error. Lots of plants died in the process. Oh, but you didn't give up.
And there's a wealth of knowledge that would go into this app now.
Exactly. All right, so we've got the photos in. We've got this wild color palette. I'm probably not gonna stick with this, but let me just like pull it down here so I can remind myself.
Like what you had, yeah.
How do I, there we go. Yeah, and actually what I'm gonna do maybe is I'm gonna hit E for the ellipse tool and maybe start dragging myself out some swatches.
Yeah,
so
that I'm too.
Yeah, and so this will be, let's literally just start with something like this. Because I do kind of like
You like that palette
And
that
the
you see
thing
there.
is, there's this saying like steal like an artist, which I really genuinely believe in. Just start by stealing and don't end with stealing.
Don't end with stealing.
Don't end with stealing, but start just so that you don't feel so stuck. And so this is maybe fun to start with for now, and then as you go, you'll find ways to make it more your own.
Yeah.
So maybe like instead of the creamsicle, maybe like I'll take this from there.
It's very similar to what I do. I'll pull like swatches directly through the eyedropper from inspiration images just to get the color palette going.
Exactly.
Like when we were doing the squares earlier, it was hard because we were just kind of like guessing,
Well,
you know, swatches and going from there. So
yeah, and the nice thing too is these like interfaces kind of have already been, you can see that the colors like work well together already. This is a little bit more punchy, but I kind of like, I don't know. I do kind of want this back.
you like that?
Wait,
yeah,
where'd it
peachy
go?
color.
I do, but then maybe I'll grab it from here.
Yeah, I like that. That when you had that like pinkish color earlier.
What else? Oh, I really loved this photo too. I feel like this is starting to look like the photo as well. This is a picture one of my friends took on their trip. So you can also grab from photos. That's another pink. I'm so in love. It's bad because it's not in style anymore. Millennial pink is done.
No, I love pink.
But
Pink will forever. Pink will always be the best color.
All right.
And I always try to do like neutrals and then I end up going like full on rainbow every time. And I'm like, oh, too bad.
Exactly. Well, maybe let's, I'm trying to think of like.
Yeah, what would you tend to do next from here? Like,
I know, you all are really like going on this journey with me because it's very impromptu. Well, you know what I will say is like the typography is one of the biggest things that gives life to something. So I'm actually, instead of worrying about colors for a minute, I am going to focus on the type.
yes.
So there's two places that are great for type inspiration.
Oh God, gotta love Typewolf.
One is Typewolf. Adobe also has like a type sort of, I think it's like a type inspo, maybe it's this. They have like a thing where they've collected.
I know they have some like font packs.
They have collections
yes.
though.
Oh, yes.
Font packs.
Yeah,
maybe
font packs, yeah. So you can kind of see groupings of fonts that already kind of work together for a specific vibe, or the team's already done some curation for you.
Totally. So I'm gonna check out Typewolf and that.
Yeah, and if you guys don't use Adobe fonts, it comes with your Creative Cloud subscription. So then you can like directly sync like a whole, I don't know, thousands of fonts, which is great because you can test a lot of things out on your computer without, and then, you know, when you need to license them for a project down the road, or, you know, if you need your client to buy them or something. But it just gives you an access to so many
really
fonts.
beautiful fonts, yeah. And actually, Typewolf has a whole set. So if you go to font recommendations and lists, they have an entire section just for top 40 favorite fonts on Adobe.
Yes.
So like if you definitely want to use the Adobe fonts, which are amazing, you can go through this. I mean, I even like this color palette.
Yeah,
too.
I love that. So fun.
So
kind of, are you kind of seeing like what you're responding to, or do you have a specific kind of vibe in mind you're going for?
For this, because I've like, honestly, because I haven't done as much background research as I typically would for a visual design exercise, I'm kind of just like, it's like judging a book by a cover.
Yep,
like,
totally.
what do I respond to first, and can I sort of make that work?
Yep. I like that first one because it kind of has the green that we could see from like plants, but it's like fun and feels like modern.
It does, yeah. Another thing you can do is kind of like create, profiles, like imagine if you met this plant app at a party. Who would they, like, what would they be like? Or imagine this plant app were a car, like would it be a Porsche or would it be a Volkswagen? I don't know. Yeah. So like that's another way you can sort of start to define like, this
we love
feels
kind of
like that.
like you said, putting like a persona to the brand.
Exactly.
You're like, is this a teenage girl?
Exactly.
You know, who loves to, I don't know.
What do you all think? Do you have any thoughts on like what the sort of like type of person would be who's
for this app for Planned Parenthood?
Help us out.
What are some personality traits you guys assume from Planned Parenthood? For me, I feel like, well, I mean, we could go either way. We could go like super like funny and like I think like if it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, right?
Yep.
So it could be a little bit more like sarcastic person or humorous, or I could see it totally going the other way of like super serious, like super I don't know, like if we're saying like
for example, this to me feels like what you would see in sort of a botanical
yes, exactly.
Like, figure A is this. So actually here's one I will explore also because it's so close to what I have now in terms of black and white. It works well, so maybe that could be. And I will say it reminds me of a piece of inspo that I collected down here, which is sort of again this like specimen type of look.
Yeah, it
and
feels
so
kind of scientific or like official or academic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that maybe I'll remind myself like that's one. Maybe that's what we'll explore, like an academic
vibe.
And
yeah.
I don't know if that's right because honestly when you're looking at these it's a little bit more fun, but that's like one way we could go.
It's an exploratory phase.
Exactly, and we might not land on like the fully fleshed out thing today, but this is just how I would go about looking into different things.
Justin says chill, vibrant, sassy.
I love this. Okay, I'm writing it down. And these are things that Dohi did a really good job explaining like how so she sends out a survey to her clients and gets these adjectives ahead of time, and they say like for the corn dog thing that you designed, they were like crispy, salty, you know, like quirky. And so that was a way for her to just, when you're creative, like you're like, it could be anything.
It could be anything.
It's nice to have some constraints, which we're creating on the fly here.
Yeah, but I like that we're having kind of two different vibes, right? Like one more serious and one more laid back and fun.
That's a really good point, and it's kind of like a nice thing to try both.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna make those bigger, but.
And even when I have a style guide, sometimes I'll explore like, you know, because a style guide could be applied different ways, and especially in this early visual stage, I'll often like just push the bounds a little bit of like what, even within academic, you know, there could be different academic vibes. So
for sure.
This is really the chance to kind of explore and try out very different things, because I think once you kind of land on a look and feel, we want to make sure that's consistent and apply through all the pages. So
exactly.
Before you do that across all pages, it's kind of nice to like, you know, focus on maybe one or two of the pages and just explore those different looks with type choices, color.
This is a good page for type.
I agree.
And you also have the like iconography here, so maybe I'll play around with the type. And I'm actually gonna grab one of because this was supposed to be the branded section, so maybe this still has jade.
You're gonna pull a, yeah.
Let me see if they have just something that feels a little bit.
Little baby.
This one's so cute.
It's cute.
Oh my gosh.
And again, I think photography plays a huge role in the overall like brand voice as well. So we're choosing color and type, and Erin is now curating additional photography to just help communicate the brand vision for Planned Parenthood.
Exactly.
So if anyone looks at this, they can be like, oh, that's from Planned Parenthood.
Yes, that is the dream.
That is the dream. It's so cute.
I'm definitely liking this. This is probably where our little arrow is gonna start to suffer. Like you can't really see it. Another thing you can do in that case also is just like add a drop shadow.
Yes, that drop shadow.
Classic drop shadow.
I'm like, oh, nope, hard to see drop shadow.
I mean, sometimes with those, I've seen also this really interesting solution where people like double outline it, so it's outlined in black and white, so that it looks
depending on the background.
Yeah, depending on the background, it shows like the correct
thing. I've never seen that.
Sometimes I'll like, if I know it's gonna be hard to scale, like just putting a background color or, you know, like making it a button or something like that is also an option.
That's a good idea. I might do that actually in a minute. center, please. All right.
So yeah, choosing typography is probably one of my favorite / most paralyzing parts of the project.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I love that you guys have that list pulled up too.
Yeah, where was the? Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
So what did they say?
did they
There's
say?
Baskerville and
Engraver's
Engraver's
Gothic.
I do wish they said which one is which.
I know. That's the hard.
You're
thing
always
about
just, like,
typo.
guessing.
I guess it's this one. What are y'all's favorite fonts? Do you guys have any favorites? I feel like
Yeah, academic type fonts.
yeah, academic type fonts, or even the chill, sassy, fun ones. Since we're gonna go there too, let us know what fonts you guys have been digging these days. I feel like mine always changes, like whose fonts I like and what I like. People always ask me like, "What's your favorite font?" I'm like, that really depends on the project, on the mood.
Totally. I wish I got the chance to work with typefaces more often. One thing I'll say is when you start to work on products at large scale, you're typically working within a pretty well-defined system for a reason. Like they want every screen to be cohesive. So I feel like I'm a little rusty on some of these font explorations because a lot of times with you just don't get to. You don't get.
There's so many choices too.
There's so many choices. I'm gonna go with
Michael says anything grotesque. I've been feeling the grotesque fonts this season as well. I feel like it's trendy right now, but I mean they're also classic.
What does grotesque mean?
I would not have the answer for you.
Like
I knew.
How is
I
it?
can Google
should
this.
know
I'll
this.
go. I know. I feel like I should know
studied
this.
graphic design, but like I know there was a class where they told us all these things.
Oh, totally.
Like
Let
Ellen
me-
Lupton has an amazing book on typography.
Is that the Just My Type book?
Yeah.
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 Let's see. I will look this up
try.
while you guys. All right. Specifically, grotesque refers to a set of sans serif fonts
Okay.
produced around 1815. Sometimes are called grotesque or gothic.
Okay.
They have a slightly crude appearance and lots of visual character. Geometric in design with simple letter forms and fairly even stroke weights. And then the more contemporary neo-grotesques are things like Helvetica. Guys, I'm learning a lot here. You guys probably know more about fonts than I do.
Yeah, I really miss like digging into fonts. Okay, actually, I did set up a couple of type styles.
Yeah,
here.
you did?
Yeah, I did. So like I set sort of like this is one. This is like the biggest one, which is 36 point over here. I'm just gonna take this because that's the smallest
Nice.
one. I have like 26.16,
Yeah.
etc. So what
That's
happens?
how I usually start too, like, what do you call that? Like
Like a
10 by 10, scale by 10, like
Yeah,
for the
totally.
big type. And then once you get to the body type, getting smaller.
Why can't I? Because normally it lets you. I think it's because it's linked. I wonder what happens if I. Can I just? I don't want to unlink it because then they'll all go away.
Can you just change it there? Or no? That's not how it works.
Well, I
don't know.
can, but I wanted to. What happens is usually.
It'll show it across the whole thing.
Yeah, it'll show it across the whole thing, and it'll say you're redefining it. Anyway, I tried. So we thought that Baskerville would be nice, and I tried it, and I'm not.
You don't like
I'm
it?
not digging the J here,
Yep.
but it's a little thin. I don't know.
Baskerville's also tough to read on screens, I found.
Yeah, that's like
especially-
a print.
Yeah, it's the contrast of the, like, I mean, I still use a lot of Baskerville, but I found that is a particularly finicky font, especially at smaller sizes on screen. And I think that's a whole thing too, like just, making sure you test your fonts. Like Erin earlier was talking about like stress testing your designs, and I think that goes down to color and fonts as well. And we talked yesterday a lot about kind of accessibility in design, so with fonts, I think it's just making sure it's legible, readable, and maybe across different languages support. And then when we get to colors, thinking about contrast for screens and just making sure things are easy to access for people with a wide array of visual needs.
Totally. So with the typefaces, like I think it's always really wonderful to, not always, but it can be beautiful to combine typefaces, and that might be my ideal end state, but for now, it's also fine to start with just one. And see how it looks. And
what
see
font
if
are you using here?
So this is called Sophia, and I found it on the Type Wolf site, and I kind of like, it feels a little bit, I don't know, for lack of it feels a little bit friendly, and it definitely has more character than Helvetica, which was my placeholder. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually.
I like Sophia a lot. It's very versatile.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of different weights. And something I look for too when I'm choosing fonts is like just making sure, and sometimes I do this too late, you know, that they're available in different weights, like italics.
Yes.
Anything that, you know, especially for body type, you want to
Especially
make
for like
sure.
interfaces, you should make sure there's a lot of different
options. It covers the whole, I don't know, breadth of things you might need, because yeah, it might look great in one. I've done that so many times where I'm like, oh, nope, they don't have a Spanish accent. Like,
and then you gotta go back to the drawing board.
Yep, gotta go back to the drawing board.
Okay, so what I did here was I started to redefine a new set of character styles. So I would actually be able to pretty easily apply these to my other designs.
Cool.
And I will say that this is a little bit bigger on here. Well, so actually I'm gonna go here and cool. So that's like, so now I don't have to manually like
Go in and be like, Sophia.
Exactly, so this is great. And then in the future too, now that these are like within this, I could always go in here, go in here and there's a way, I know there's a way to edit the master.
That style.
I've done it before, but I don't know why it's not happening right now. So we'll just,
blanking.
We'll just,
if you right click, does anything happen?
I tried right click.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe your mouse, maybe the mouse isn't set up to have the right click.
Oh yeah, you have to option click.
Oh yeah, option click.
Or something like that. I don't remember what the short.
Control click.
Yes. Oh, maybe edit.
Edit, yes.
There you go. Maybe.
Yep, yes. That's where you would do it. I wonder if I can do that here too. Oh, because see, now you have to edit in the source document, which is my wireframes. And like, I don't really.
Got it.
I don't want to do that. So we will keep applying these. So this was the 26.1.
Yeah.
And you can apply them to multiples at once. And then
And it also now keeps your type styles consistent.
Exactly.
Like, that's something I struggle with when I'm doing a lot of visual design. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I used 14 pixels in this one and then 15 in this one because I was just eyeballing things.
Totally. And that's kind of where we landed yesterday too with the size of the images. And we're like, okay, I have to go back and make sure that these are the same, because you do want it to feel like cohesive and purposeful. And also you're not giving the developers like a million different styles. Exactly. Okay, so I'm really liking the way this is already starting to make it feel a little bit more branded.
For sure.
So let me do, let's see, I'm pretty sure this is still a symbol, so hopefully, fingers crossed, when we update this, it'll update across all of them on at least the mobile. So I'll hit escape, and then I'm gonna bring these down a little bit, because they're kind of close. Let's see if it carried over. No, it didn't. That's weird because it is a symbol.
It is a symbol or component.
Yeah, a component, sorry. Maybe it's because it's linked again.
Maybe.
Or you know what, sometimes you have to do the master component, which happens. So like, what is this called? I think it's down here, bottom nav. And then if I control click.
All right, I think it's because it's.
What if I duplicate it? Can I? You know, I'm going to duplicate it here.
And then just create.
And I'm going to unlink it. Oh, I keep forgetting I have to control click.
Erin's using my mouse for this demo, so, you know, we're getting used to the new mouse.
Okay, so now it's unlinked, and you can sort of create a new one. So I'll just call this like nav bar 2, and I'll create a new component out of it.
Make
component. There's a keyboard shortcut. I should know that command because I love keyboard shortcuts.
It's so hard though. Like if you're trying to recall them from memory to tell people what they are. Because I'm like, I just know where my fingers
muscle
go.
Memory.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna copy it over to these other areas, and then so I can really easily align it by hitting, grabbing them both and hitting Command Control and then the up arrow, and it just automatically ports it over to the right spot. And I'm gonna delete this, and where else do we have that? here.
And just a reminder, guys, in about half an hour, we're going to be doing portfolio reviews. So if you guys would like input on your portfolio, I know it's a little, it can be a little scary, but we're nice.
Yeah,
I promise.
no.
We don't judge people's work, and we're just here to give you constructive feedback. If you guys want to submit your portfolio for review, just make sure you hit that portfolio review tab in the live chat and submit your portfolio link there, and we'll see if we get to review it in about half an hour.
I can't wait.
I know, I love looking at people's portfolios. I don't like my portfolio, but I think every designer feels. Do you not feel that way about your portfolio?
Yeah, I do feel like every year it's like, well, it's time for a redesign.
Yeah. I haven't touched my site in 4 years, and it hurts me. But it's like the last thing on my list of things to do, and I need to do it. So maybe reviewing everyone else's today will light a fire under my butt to get that done.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I swear
you have to be
I've done a lot more
inspired
work.
to.
And it's like, I don't know, I have this thing where like when I finish projects, like for a while I just can't look at them because I have that like trauma.
I definitely hear that. Okay, great. And this is a repeat grid, so that like
It's looking good.
Passed over, and then I'm gonna make this that. Great. And I'm gonna give this that style. I mean, it's small, but it makes a difference. They should all be the same type.
All the details come together.
Exactly. So I don't have a type style for 18 pixels yet. And I did use like a random 8. I threw an 18 in there, which is not, I don't know.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to make an exception.
Yep.
To have
Totally.
a little fun.
Like, I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna keep going.
I mean, honestly, it will probably get like developed in B16 or whatever, but in my
Like, can I make that a little larger?
Nudge that over. I really like the way this type. It's so cool how much personality you can get just by changing the typography.
Type selection is huge, and like I think so. People who aren't designers underestimate like number one how long it takes us to land on something.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the importance of a great typeface.
And I'm gonna actually make this. Maybe we'll have some more 18 points.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're using that style.
Now I have an 18. Okay, and then I'll have this one be the 26 again.
And I feel like even when you have the type change, like now the black boxes look more interesting. Like like that they're actually like a design feature.
And then it's just, I don't know, it's a little bit more elegant than the Helvetica.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, it's a little bit more friendly, feels a little more contemporary. And maybe it's because it's more round, just feels like warm, which I think echoes what we were feeling from the product photos too. Warm
yeah,
and nice.
That's so true. That's a really good point. I will say the line height changed, so some of my spacing is a little bit, I'm like starting to want to adjust the spacing a bit, which, just as a note, sometimes, so when you change typefaces, sometimes you'll notice that the line height is different and you kind of have to like finagle your spacing to feel like you wanted it to.
Yeah, and what's like a 13 pixel font on one font
is totally different.
I don't know why, but it is.
It's true. What do they call it? Like X height or something of the font? Like if it's a really small X height, it's actually a lot harder to read, especially on screens. So when you're looking for a nice typeface for screens, it's great to look out for if they describe it with like a big X height.
And just setting just set a sample, like I just do like sample paragraphs or like, I don't know, things at various sizes just to do like a gut check of like, oh, this font is gonna be hard to use, or just choose a different typeface for this usage. I've just gotten into trouble where I've waited until the very end to like check things. I'm like, no, why didn't I check it at the beginning of the project?
What do you do in that case? Like,
then
is it back to the drawing board?
I just go back and I'm like, oh no, I went too deep without checking. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm already liking these so much compared to the Helvetica one. So we're almost done, like adjusting all of these. I don't think I have a centered, but I'll just say this is 16. So I'll find a 16 here. Oh, nice.
That worked.
It already is. Cool. And again, I have to sort of like recenter it because of the updated line height. And then this will be 16 as well, but I actually want this one to be, well, not bold. That's like kind of too much in this typeface, but luckily they have like a medium and a
Sophia
semi-bold.
comes in all sorts of weights. I love Sophia. It's very, very, what do you call that? Like,
Versatile?
yes, versatile. I was like, dynamic? No, that is not the right word.
Okay. So
Sophia also looks great in like all caps as well as regular case. So I think that's something to look out for too. Like if you see yourself using all caps somewhere or small caps, just checking how everything looks.
can I do that? Wait, I think that's like two different things. So when you have different, like see how I have a bold and a, I can't just go in here and, I mean I can, but then I just have to go in and like
restyle it.
update that to be bold again.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And then this I want, oh, it's not aligned. It's so upsetting. I'm like, every time I see something that's not aligned, I'm like, get back.
Get back. I know, I need to learn the shortcuts for alignment because that I use just, that's like every other click.
It's
I'm like, align.
Please align. Like, that's another thing that really makes a design like feel
polished. It's just like, to me, it drives me crazy if I see something and it looks beautiful and you know the intention is there, but there's just things out of alignment. And I think, just presenting work with that layer of polish is like super important in portfolios too, which we'll get to.
What are people, is anyone, are there any questions in the chats or anything?
Reina asks, what fonts do you like to use in portfolios?
Oh, well that's interesting. I don't know that there would be like a portfolio specific typeface because it kind of just depends. I would say it depends on your personality, right?
For sure.
It depends on, again, like the type of, let's say, like person you are at a party that you want to portray as a professional. You might have like a quirky personality. So like a great example of that actually is Ghostly Ferns is a really
Meg
fun.
Lewis and Ghostly Ferns, shout out.
Yeah, so that like Ghostly Ferns is a super fun graphic design freelance studio. So like they have, well, actually she's using the illustrations, I would say, almost more than it's
the
like
type.
not like a super quirky typeface. So it really just depends on, I don't know, it depends. It's hard to say. Yeah, I was like gonna say.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like what story you're trying to tell with your portfolio. Like, do you want to come off as like quirky and playful, then choose like colors or illustrations or typefaces that, and for that I would probably lean more towards like sans serifs, but there's some weird serifs too. There's some funky serifs out there too.
You maybe even honestly, like if you're really into type, I don't know if you do this, Dohi, and I haven't done it before, but I'm thinking like, what if you just kept sort of a file, an XD file where you just collect.
I totally have. I have an InDesign book where I collect all my fonts and just have like, just as a quick guide, like you can use I think every designer does this differently. Some people just use the font book that's built into your like computer, but I just like having visuals, and sometimes I'll pair them with like colors or color stories that I feel like all kind of work together, so that
and then you're not like starting from zero.
You kind of have a jumping off point for projects, and of course every project is different and gets tweaked, but you have your kind of like toolkit of starting points, which is really helpful.
Exactly. And then we got 16.
Gal says it really depends on the site, and I agree. I think there's no typeface that is a like one and done in my opinion. Yeah, I wish. No, I think that would make it boring, just making it more every new project is an opportunity.
Now that I've like taken all this time like painstakingly updating each typeface, I think I would have
stick with this.
Yeah, and I also think like I would go back and just edit these linked ones. Like I could have just done that. Really, I mean, it's maybe there's a better way, but just thinking out loud here. You gotta try to like save time where you can, and there's a lot of things. I mean, even this in and of itself, the fact that I can sit here and click these is like a huge time saver.
For sure.
26.
And you're good about setting up your styles. I like wait till like too late again. I don't know. I think I do too much like freeform stuff.
Yeah, when you're still trying to figure it out, it totally makes sense. But there is, like when I used Photoshop a lot, I would have this moment where it was like, I'm committing to the layers.
Yes,
And I would
yes.
say like, okay, I'm gonna merge all these layers, I'm gonna commit to it. And so it kind of feels the same, like when I get to a point that feels right with the hierarchy, I'm just gonna commit.
Yep.
And make some character styles, and then everything is usually like pretty okay from there.
Right. And I think, again, you kind of learn that with having worked on a lot of interfaces, kind of like what feels right or what you know is going to be problematic or not problematic or scalable or not scalable. And of course, we'll find out, but you kind of have a good sense once you work on like one or two
Totally.
touch points.
We're almost done. I think this is the last one. And we'll make these. Is this another 18 out? No, it's still 16. I was like, it looks kind of
It
like
looks
an
bigger,
outlier.
but
It's probably because it's
never-
bolded.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'll use the bold style. Great.
Nice.
And adjust that. And then this is going to be 36. Bring it down a little bit. And then these will be 16. Awesome. Okay. This is pretty close.
Looking good.
Please say that this. I mean, it's green. It's in a thing.
It's in a component.
But I have a feeling. I have a feeling. No, it's not. That's fine. These ones are that. All right. So look at
It's
this.
looking good. Looking great.
It's feeling nice.
Looking
with
like a
the-
real.
like a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the next thing I would do? I mean, I guess the question is like, do we want to have a bright white background?
Right. That's a question.
One thing, I mean, this is like, are gradients trendy anymore? It's been a long time since I've been able to use a gradient, so.
Do a gradient. Let's do a gradient.
Let's just see what happens. I'm gonna like start off by taking this gradient because it's kind of like, I don't know, it reminds me of like the beach or like outdoors, and it kind of has a little bit of the vibe of the typeface, I think. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens if I put a
All right. Well, you don't know until we try it.
You don't know. And I will say that having a gradient with like user-generated photos is probably not, you never know how it's gonna interact with the pictures that other people have.
Right.
So that's a little bit tough. But I'm curious. So I'm gonna grab the eyedropper and then take this sort of like well, what happened? No, that's not what I intended. Oh, is it because it's just, I'm just gonna manually pick this because it's kind of gray and it's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I feel like you're like it's drastically changing kind of like the mood of the app by adding that
Totally. And this is
color in.
This is what I mean though by like the color sort of, and this is not the best gradient by any means, but like you'll run into situations where it competes with the user-generated
Right.
photos. So you should probably stay away from gradients for this, as you've
I think
seen.
the white works well too. I mean, it's super clean or like a clean
Ooh.
neutral.
I do like the idea of just having like slightly off. And it's kind of hard to figure out what that looks like against this like gray
Yes.
background. So sometimes you need to look at it on a phone. But maybe I'm gonna try this like slightly off. It's a little bit warm. I'm gonna actually
Very
add
warm,
this.
light gray.
Yeah, maybe similar to the neutrals in, I'm gonna go over to my colors. Like these neutrals, but I don't want it to be
yeah.
that dark,
Right.
so
Like a really pale version of that.
really pale version of that. And then I want this to stand out against that, so I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm just gonna, again, like drag it down a little bit. And I don't want it to be too red, so I'm gonna not do too much saturation, but just sort of like slightly adjust it based on the thing that it's above. But see, that feels too gray to me, so then maybe I'll go more toward this.
Like a taupey gray.
Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay, so I'm gonna add that to my color palette, and I'm gonna also add this like off-white. Whoa, what just happened? Oh, it's because I was selected on the entire thing. I'm gonna add that.
Nice.
I don't know why I did the gray. Oh, it's because
Oh, the outline.
it's really everything. Okay. So then I want this to feel like a card. So right now it's just outlined, but I actually just kind of want it to feel like a delicate kind of card that pops. So I'm gonna get rid of the border for now, and I'm gonna add a little bit of a shadow. It's hard to tell when that blue is selected, so I'm just gonna zoom in And usually just like really slight. You don't.
Yeah, I do very subtle.
So, and this is even too much. So maybe like 1 and 2. There you go. Like that's like a very, very subtle. You could maybe even just do, yeah. Maybe I'll just do like a consistent one around the whole thing.
So are you imagining this would be like clickable, or it's just kind of a message?
It is clickable. So I didn't do it on iPad, on tablet, but up here, where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, so there was a screen on, let me show, because it's important that it does something.
Yeah.
So the point of that was that if you happen to have a reminder that is scheduled for either that day, or maybe it was scheduled like earlier this week, you just haven't gotten to it yet, you click into it, and then this could include, I mean, for now, for this MVP, maybe it's just watering, but it also in the future could include like, you need to repot this plant, it's been a while, or you need to add fertilizer.
You're imagining that would be like, yeah, a little.
Yeah, and then you could just, it would bring up a card, and then you could say, okay, I did all of these things. And then it would go away and it would actually just get added to your log. Okay, so this is just gonna be like a little card, and then, so notice this little white back. This is a cool trick. So like I wanted there to be this sort of timeline element, and I used to make a line, I would drag out the little line and
Leave
like space it. But actually a hack is that you can just take the thing that you want a little bit of space in between the line and give it like a really thick border. So right now the border is white, but we need this
Designer shortcut.
this background. Exactly. So now it just looks like yeah, like
you got evenly spaced lines.
Evenly spaced lines, yes, exactly. Same with the same thing with alignment. You're like, it's so satisfying when it's even. Didn't we have like a color palette we were exploring? Okay, yeah. So maybe since I'm just gonna say this might be like too extreme with the neutrals
might be too
now.
much pop, yeah.
It could be too much. So maybe like back off a little bit. I'm like a huge fan of pastels, so this is very like.
It's your ad. This is what.
It's a very
Embrace your
chill. Like I
style.
want it to feel chill. I don't want it to be like you get in and you're just like bombarded with things to do.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
It's more
like
peaceful.
a peaceful like meditative. I'm starting to see
Yeah.
as I'm like designing it. So, oh, but water. We're gonna want water blue.
Yeah,
so
let's do water blue.
Copy that style.
Dude, I love this copying style situation.
Yeah, it's so fast. And an alert, I would say, typically maybe is in like
a reddish orange.
yellow.
Yeah, yellow.
Ooh, yeah, and kind of like a mango. I'm
Yeah, you have like a yeah. I like
I'm down
that.
here.
Maybe somewhere.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, but I think
so
earlier
that's
you had
too
picked
much.
like a peachy tone. Yeah.
Yeah, it was from one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Got that. It's a little desaturated, but it's a good place to start.
I like what you have
Yeah,
there.
actually, this is pretty
it looks
close.
good, and it looks good with the blue.
All right, camera. What screams camera? Let's go back down to what we...
Like a green? I don't know. Because you're taking a picture of the plants who might be green.
I mean,
It's the false logic we tell
I know,
ourselves when choosing color.
as long as you, here's the secret. Like, as long as you have some semblance of like a reason behind your decision, it's not to say that it can't be refuted, but when you're presenting it to people and clients, like people will accept it so much more if you say, this is why I made this decision.
Yes.
Like, green because of growth. And then they can say, well, no, actually, I think like it's more this thing, but
It becomes way less of a like, I like this and I don't like this, which is a very hard conversation to like have with anybody. How are you going to argue with what people like or dislike?
Exactly. And so along that same lines, like if you have a client saying, you know, I just want this thing, I think the feature should be this, you can sort of, as a designer, part of our job is to help, almost like a therapist, help them get to articulate why they think that. And so, like, what is it that makes you say that, or what leads you to believe that is a better solution? And they'll start to talk through, hopefully, their thought process, and maybe they'll be right, and maybe you'll be like, oh, I totally understand, or maybe you can then say, oh, this is what they're going for. What if we tried this thing? And another trick that I've learned in terms of people asking you, either bosses or clients asking you for things that you're like, I don't think that's gonna work, or I'm not sure. Do it. You do the thing, and then also do your version. It's not. It is time consuming,
No,
but
I
if
think
it's
smart.
if you really think it's going to be a problem, show because
Yeah.
people again like it's so much.
They don't get it until you show
They
it.
need to see it.
And you might also find that as you're working on your solution, you're like, maybe it's not as, just fleshing it out for your own process too. But often I find that you can convince clients. Just be like, hey, I asked, I did what you asked, but let's look at this other thing
look
that
at
is
this
even better.
alternate version, and they'll be like, whoa.
They're like, I get it now. And they're like, yes, this is what I've been trying to tell you.
I want this plus sign to really pop, so maybe that will be a little bit more vibrant. Or maybe I can just make the plus sign darker. I don't know.
Like
There's
the
a lot of
black.
like blues going along, right? I don't love how many different blues. Oh, interesting. What do you think about that? Is that too like...
No, I like that.
That's kind of cool. I like
think
how it
that's
plays
super
off like
graphic.
the
Yeah.
type and... Okay.
And
yeah.
it's like a call to action versus the other ones are more like icons that are not decorative, but indicative of something.
That's a really good point. So, okay, we just have to choose one more, y'all. This is the final, final icon.
It's looking great though, the colors.
Thank you.
And I think something I try to do is, and I think Erin does this too, is like when you decide on the color for like the action item, like so in this case we're saying like, okay, black button, like just trying to carry that across the whole app design so
Exactly.
that the user understands like, oh, black
Anytime
button
I
means
see, yep,
clickable.
totally. So I'm liking this. We got like a combination of warm, a cool, green is not really warm or cool. I mean, maybe it's on the cool side. And then this is like a, I don't know, a magenta-y. So it feels, I don't know, feels like it's, you're not just using the same sort of tones.
Yes.
Like I like them to feel different
Right.
enough.
It's not just different shades of green.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that starts to make it feel like also it's more scannable, like as you're
Yes.
going down and your eye sees. Now I will say like, I have not done my due diligence yet of like checking accessibility of colors. So like sometimes you might realize that some of these are actually just look exactly the same
Yeah.
to some people. So you might have to adjust, but this is a good first start.
Something I do, and as a web designer, is like I will like squint my eye when I'm choosing a color palette. I'll like squint my eyes as a quick check, just to see like.
Squint test.
Because sometimes people will also like. I often get style guides from brand designers, and there's like 3 shades of extremely similar blue. And yes, that might look very different when you have like full bleed,
Yep.
I don't know, in print or something. But on the screen at small text sizes, like they all look the same blue. So we can simplify styles that way and just make sure, every color is intentional and can stand on its own versus like, is it this lighter blue or is it this mid-tone blue?
Exactly.
Just doing a quick check.
And that happens too at big companies. So they'll have like a moment where they're like, okay, we need to rein in all of our grays.
Yes.
And like there's like 100,
50%, 30%, 20%.
like 100 different grays. They're like, okay, like we're just gonna have 10. And I mean, you do need to kind of have a lot of grays sometimes.
Yes, you need to have the different shades. But if people are using like you said, for icons, right, where we want to use like very distinct colors because they mean different things, versus if you have a gradient, great. That's the whole point. We have a whole range. But yeah, in just a couple minutes, we'll be going into portfolio reviews. So we'll get to kind of see what you guys have been working on and provide feedback there, which is going to be super exciting.
I wonder if I can design this in 2 minutes. So the nav bar, what am I thinking for the nav bar? It could be, what am I thinking? I guess we could start off with this card style, just see what happens, because it's got a little bit of a shadow.
Yeah.
I don't want the border, the border radius, and I'm actually gonna maybe make this a little bit stronger, because it is something that like really sits on top.
Yeah.
And so that's really subtle, and it's already, that kind of works. The only thing I would want to do is maybe change, like these feel sort of inactive.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
What I might do instead of making this just like a dark black is make it a color.
To make it feel like an active or like a selected state.
Yeah, a selected state. And maybe these ones could still be black to our point of saying like,
it's clickable.
it's clickable, but let's just say, I don't know, for the sake of time, that it's some sort of blue. That is sort of like a standard Apple color too. We would probably want it to be, but we're running up on time. Okay, and then these ones would be black. Great. 45 seconds. Can we do it? Can we do it?
You got this. The countdown. Udo Val says, this is looking great.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, so that's one screen. And then once you have like one screen that you feel good about, then you can sort of apply it to the rest.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy with where this went.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know it's hard designing on the fly like
it
this,
is,
but
and
it has a cohesive look.
I'm so glad you all were helping me through that. That was awesome. This was really fun.
Plant Parenthood coming to App Store near you. We'll see if this comes to life.
I love it.
But yeah, we're gonna be jumping into portfolio reviews, but beforehand, I believe we're going to space. We just found out we're going to space.
Oh my gosh.
So we're gonna go to space and come
Let's
back.
go.
Coming back from space. Oh, it's very weird in here. It echoes. Oh my gosh, you can bring it down.
I feel like we should like be
Okay.
like.
Okay, I think we'll take these off as we go into portfolio reviews. But man, space was fun.
Space
That
was really
quick.
good.
We were traveling at the speed of light.
2019. You really like you get to space pretty.
See ya on Mars.
Is it? I'm like, is it 2019?
I know, it is 2019, yes. So yeah, today, Thursdays, we're doing portfolio reviews during the segment. So usually we'll go over your daily creative challenges, but Thursday is special, and we get to do portfolio reviews. So I think we have a couple of portfolios that we're going to be going over. The team has selected these, so I am the messenger. We'll be reviewing Santaji's portfolio. They are a student from Mumbai, India. Awesome.
Cool.
And yeah, let's take a look. Santaji, if you're on, and if there's anything specific you'd like us to look at, but I think we can kind of dive in and take a look. So I think first glance, kind of, to me, it seems like they've been focusing on, maybe mobile or UI design. Mm-hmm. And it looks like they have some illustration skills as well.
Yeah, there's some graphic design and look, there's even some print design.
So really a whole range. So yeah, very multidisciplinary designer. They have themselves marked as a student, so perhaps a lot of this was done in classes, so just exploring and learning, which is awesome.
Totally.
But yeah, it looks like they're not afraid to play with color.
Yep.
And exploring a lot of different styles. So yeah, let's just click into one. Let's look at one of the, I see. These are some of the creative challenges, which is great. Ooh, I want to look at this Bauhaus Reader one. Yes. So let's take a look. Bauhaus Reader is an e-reader app for text published by artists from the Bauhaus. So Walter Gropius, and let's see. So yeah, it looks like we're trying to apply this kind of Bauhaus look and feel to this app. And what do we think about kind of the presentation and I don't know, some of the styles they've picked out?
Let's see. So we've got the colors.
Mm-hmm. I think what would be helpful, right now we have kind of the prompt of the project, but I personally love to see why designers chose certain things.
Yeah.
Or seeing some exploration shots could be cool, just in terms of our portfolio. I always like to see in any designer's portfolio, especially if we're hiring or something, the process of a designer. I think the final product is awesome and very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
But often, we can create beautiful things, but design comes down to solving a problem. So I think just looking at just presenting your work by setting up the problem and the solution and kind of your approach to solving the problem.
And the other thing I would maybe try, if you scroll up, so I guess these are the typefaces that that you've used. So I wonder if another way too, so like you have a big block of text in terms of the visual language and typography. If you like, maybe if we summarized that in like 1 or 2 sentences, but then giving people a visual way to sort of say like, this is what I'm going for. I mean, this is not right, but like the words like cozy. I mean, what words would you describe? Not cozy, but like,
maybe a little like futuristic
Yeah.
or like geometric, like clean or
totally, like the adjectives versus the name of the font could be a way to get people to understand like the vibe you're going for.
right. Or even including those keywords like in a like a big, like you said, like a graphic or something.
Totally.
You're like, I'm trying to communicate X, Y, Z, so that we're following you in your journey. And right,
Yeah, yeah, like tell a story with the way that it's presented. Cool.
for sure. Let's look at this prototype. I love prototypes. Or these video. Oh, whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you guys are so awesome at this animation stuff, which I am not good at. Yep, so it looks like we'll kind of get a demo of the app. But yeah, I think again, like just thinking about like if I were, scanning this quickly, just I think pointing out like what you did and why you did it just helps kind of go a long way versus like, hey, this is the prompt. But I think you did do some of that, like scrolling interactions, give a sense of musicality, reflecting the influence of musical thinking and fluidity in Bauhaus masters. Like I love that sort of line, so maybe even making that like bigger or more prominent, so I'm paying attention to things like that. But yeah, it's just, I mean, very visually striking, and it immediately caught my attention like when we were looking at it. So I always think too that the thumbnail image you have for your portfolio is like so important.
It's hard. I found it's really hard with interfaces because it's like an interface inside of an interface.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's nice to kind of like frame it in a little thing and give a sneak peek.
Let's see, let's look at photography, personal, poster work.
Ooh.
Oh, I see. Here, I want to spend more time actually in the UI stuff. But yeah, I think overall too, looking at your portfolio, I'd be very curious, like, if I had like 30 seconds, like 10 seconds, let's say, because that's realistically kind of how I'm judging portfolios. Like 10 seconds to look at this, kind of like what would you want the viewer to take away? So if this is a hiring position, if you're looking for a job, like, do you want to clearly communicate like, hey, I am into app design, like I design app interfaces.
Exactly.
Then make sure that like that first view I look at kind of clearly communicates that. Versus like, hey, like I love print design, like, and then make sure you showcase print design. Like people always say, like show in your portfolio the kind of work you want to get paid to do.
Yes, exactly. It's like dress for the job you want or whatever it's true. Yeah, keeping I agree. Keeping like a focus is helpful.
For sure. And you might be able to do all of these things, and that's awesome. But I think when people are looking at so many portfolios and just trying to see if you're right for the role and if there's a specific kind of role you want, making sure that your portfolio clearly reflects that. So yeah, let's look at another creative challenge. Let's see. Got Art Hunter.
Ooh.
Art Hunter is a design concept for a geocaching-inspired mobile app that provides a simple, fun, and gamified experience for exploring art and cultural destinations, such as galleries, museums, and even street art. So great. So yeah, I think it could be cool, like, again, maybe it's just me, like, I like always setting up portfolios or kind of case studies as, like, what the problem is that you're trying to solve, like what you were doing.
Right, like you could even just say as simply as like research told us that people struggled with blank. So you could say like people love art and museums, but research we found that they struggled with X, Y, and Z, and that's what our app aims to solve.
Yep, for sure. And so then I understand kind of how to judge your app from like a visual perspective and just like the user experience. I think pointing out these features is awesome, but again, kind of tying it back to like there was this problem that these features are responding to versus, hey, I just kind of made up these features. And yeah, again, love showing motion when you can, because I think, especially with web design, it just, I mean, an app design just goes a long way versus like screenshots.
Totally. It's another detail thing, and I think it tells a potential employer that you're detail-oriented and you're like sort of multi-talented. Like motion is definitely another facet to interaction design.
For sure.
There are people, I think there are entire like professions that they just focus on like micro interactions of motion design. So if you're curious about that, like that's totally something you could explore and really highlight.
Right, and I think that goes back to like, what do you highlight in your portfolio? Like,
Exactly.
I want to know, like, all right, Santaji is really good at X, and so that kind of sticks in my mind when I'm looking through other portfolios or candidates. I think it's always nice to like be super strong at one thing and really showcase that well.
Yeah.
But I also understand because my portfolio is also all over the place. Like,
there's room for a range.
yes,
but
there's
like,
room for a range. For
you know,
sure.
highlight, and of course highlight your most favorite, like best stuff first for sure.
Yep. And again, going back to like, what do you want to do as your job, and making sure like that work is shown. And I think but you've done a great job. Like, I think sometimes people are like, oh, but I don't have like client work, or I don't work at a company that does X, Y, Z. Well, we apparently, you know, we have the skill set to create side projects like this, or do these Adobe XD like daily challenges that really help build out your portfolio, which I think is, you know, it's up to us to make our portfolio. No one will do it for us.
For sure. Exactly.
Awesome. I think we have one more we're going to review today. This is Jos van Wezel from the Netherlands. They are a web designer / developer or freelancer. So yeah, I think immediately looking at it, we get a sense that they work on web design. Like, that comes across very clearly. I also like that you have this kind of like branded.
Yeah, I never know what to do with that space. That's a really good, I like that. It's almost like a, hey, this is who I am. That's
little
cool.
header. Yeah. I also feel like I'm starting to get like a sense of their style, you know, maybe a little bit more like bold and graphic.
Yeah,
So
like
again,
image-based
yeah,
too.
it's kind of coming across that what kind of work they might be into. So yeah, Van's old school design.
Oh, yeah.
This one interests me.
Oh man, I really like that, like just vibrant sort of graphic design. Looks
Totally.
like it's just the one.
Yeah, I think this is just the screen, but you saw how it caught our attention.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think it goes back to like making sure your thumbnails are like, you know, they invite clicking.
Yeah, totally. Again, like the judging the book by its cover, just being able to see something. Really
Yeah,
quick.
and I love this. Okay, so this is a Vans redesign. This is a personal project, which is great. Again, we were just talking about how like we have the power to do that and showcase the kind of work we want to do. Josh has always wanted to make a Vans website because they love the product and the brand, and they decided to create a fictional. Thank you for letting us know. And that's something I personally like to know that when, because it's hard to tell sometimes when it's real and fictional, but that gives me a lot more context to like, then I can be like, you know, if it was a real site, I might be like, this doesn't look anything like Vans, and judge things that way, versus if you're setting me up against the context of the project, I understand how I'm supposed to evaluate and respond to the project. For this project, they focus mainly on color, shapes, imagery, and consistency among these elements packaged in a modern design. So that's awesome. Like, again, I think it tells us like how we should be reviewing this versus just kind of random information about the project.
And even though it's not saying like users had this specific problem, you are giving us a sense of why you're doing it by just saying, I like Vans.
Yeah,
and
I wanted to do it.
And I'm doing it because I want to like express my creativity, and that's why. So I think that's
a problem and a need and a response,
totally.
Right? So yeah, looking at the type, I love that you have like a little type study that shows me you're like looking at, again, kind of the different use cases we were talking
Hierarchy.
about. And I love, you know, mixing that like really graphic kind of hand-drawn font for like maybe titles versus sticking to something clean and legible for the majority of the text.
Yep.
So yeah, it's great kind of showing us the system they've explored and how that gets applied into the system. Oh, super cool.
Yeah, the case study, I like it. It feels pretty, I like the sections. It feels breathable. Like you're really, I think you're doing a good job of like focusing us on sort of a single exploration or set of things per section, which is nice.
Yeah. Again, you kind of took us through the journey, right? Like, this is what I wanted to do. These are the things I explored. Here's kind of the final output, which I personally like. Again, love understanding process of a designer. I've also gotten a lot of feedback from clients and people I've worked with. Like, writing is a very important part, or being able to communicate your ideas is probably like 65% of our work, in my opinion. Like, So just, practicing talking about your work and writing about your work in your portfolio, I think just demonstrates to employers that like you know how to present and talk about your work.
Exactly. That's a really big skill to have. I mean, when you're working on teams, you're going to be presenting like, here's the project that our team is working on and why, so it'll definitely carry through.
For sure. This is Thinkubator. Let's see. So it looks like a landing page for, let's see, what do you think? It's an idea sharing platform for collaboration, ideation, and brainstorming. Cool. Don't let your ideas be forgotten. And again, this is like a nice example of like, oh, we don't have photos to work with, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Let's bring in those illustrations. I wonder if they created these illustrations too.
Right?
Which would be rad to
They're
kind
really
of,
cool.
Yeah. And I think that would be great to include with this piece. Just kind of like what you did with the Vans one, just explaining like your role in the design in this. Like, I'm not sure whether Thinkubator already had a style guide that you were working with, or is this an exploration? Like, even if you made these illustrations, I would like totally call that out just to be like, hey, this is a skill set I have.
I illustrated and designed it, for sure.
Because that's huge. And that's something I also like recommend to designers, like clarifying your role in a project, especially if you work at an agency or anything like that. Like, I think sometimes people can find it's misleading if you don't specify.
That's true.
Like the role.
And I like to credit the people that I've collaborated with too. So this was the art director. This was like the creative director of the agency I worked with. It's really nice to be able to say like, oh, this person appreciates the people that they collaborate
100%. And that always comes back to you too. Like, I think sometimes people are like, oh no, but I like want to focus on me. But hey, the way you get, I think the way you get work, especially in a creative industry, is really through like networks and just recommendations and your other creative collaborators on one project recommending you for another project. And so spread the love around and it'll come back. Let's see. Ooh, a personal page design. Oh, I love looking at people's personal page design too.
Ooh.
So it looks like this might be their portfolio site that they designed. So I think Jess is illustrating all these things.
This is kind of a nice value prop too at the beginning. Like, here's what I do so that I can enable you to do something that you want.
Yeah. I think the dark color background is nice. I think the one thing I might, and maybe I'm just looking at it because it's like an image versus actual live type. Something you might want to play around with is like how legible this font might be at smaller sizes. Like, I see that you're using this kind of as like the body, but the contrast in like the weight of the font, again, it makes me like, oh, it could get difficult to read as, you see how it's not like super clear to read. For sure,
yep. I definitely agree.
I was thinking about that, but I love the color palette. I think it feels very unique, and it tells me you're not like afraid to like kind of embrace color and boldness, which came across in your other work.
Yep.
And my recent work. So one thing I do always tell designers for portfolio reviews is it's great to, again, we talked about how important thumbnail images are, but like, again, we're probably spending like 10 seconds on something, right? Like just looking really quickly. Like, I like to have like a little bit of text for me to understand what project this is, right? If this is like, I don't know, iguana design, like iguana care design app, like just so I understand what I'm clicking into. Like, I'm not sure what I'm clicking into. So just know that when people are reviewing your portfolio, they'll often take not too much time. So just making sure that like the pieces of information are super obvious and like surfacing the best of your work on your portfolio.
It's also good for SEO, like just in general, best practices to sort of like call out the text of what you're going to, so that'll improve your ranking in Google.
And if like your projects start getting shared a lot, like, and let's say a lizard care app was trending, then like it can just bring you back to your site, and like everyone then knows that was your work too. So just again, writing about your work in general, I think just pays off in many ways.
My stomach is like
it's past lunchtime here.
I know, it's like 2 o'clock.
And let's look at Folderly. End-to-end encrypted file sharing for everyone. Maybe I'm supposed to, like, was I supposed to?
Whoa.
Yeah. Again, yeah, you're highlighting your illustration skills, which I think is awesome. The system they've kind of designed. But yeah, I also kind of wish there was more writing with this one, but it's a really nice visual.
Yeah. It is scrolling through it, you kind of, again, like your eyes, there's like breakpoints for your eyes to really rest on, like, okay, this feels like a section. Nice, this is a section.
Yeah. I love, honestly, like, even if you didn't design all the breakpoints, like, for your portfolio, you can make stuff up for your portfolio. Like, just mock things up to just, like, I think especially as kind of like a digital designer, like, communicating that you understand responsive design through graphics like this just goes a long way. Like, I'm just, again, checking, like, okay, this person understands, like, we design for mobile and various screen sizes. So again, maybe you didn't actually create high fidelity designs for all of them, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's like a movie trailer or something.
Yes.
Like, you just highlight the things that you want them to sort of get out of looking at this, and then
for sure, just understanding what your strengths are.
Exactly.
Let's see. I think those were the two. Let's go to maybe one more. And Joss's. Ooh, welcome to. Am I supposed to I feel like I'm supposed to click something else? No.
Maybe it's just one image. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Again, I think visuals are really nice, but I always like to see that there's more thought out case studies when designers have portfolios. I think especially as you get into web or mobile or app design, a beautiful print piece can often speak for itself.
That's true. That's a really good point.
And showing textures or close-ups, I'm like, wow, that is kind of the art product. But often with a lot of UI design, there is a lot of context to understand.
Totally.
And it's hard to get that across just with a single image. So I think this kind of helps show okay, they can design in this style.
Yeah, they can set type and choose colors and things like that. But yeah, it's so much, you'll stand out so much more when you start to put the context behind why you made those decisions. And I think you did a good job of that in some of the other ones too.
Yeah,
so
I really liked the one you did for the bands. I think that really helped walk us through the project and just go on that journey with you. So I would recommend whatever your top projects are here to kind of flesh that out.
Yeah, and again, if this is an older project, you might consider putting it back in drafts. It's not about, I don't think it's about quantity.
No, never.
I do think it's about quality, because you got to think too, if someone's looking at your portfolio, they're probably not going to be looking through every single one.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, they'll maybe do two.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I look at the analytics for my site, and they always go to the first one, and maybe a few more go to the second one. But,
yeah.
So really highlight your best stuff.
For sure. And yeah, I think when I'm reviewing portfolios, I always, if there's 3 strong projects, that's way better than 20 projects where I'm not understanding where this is all going.
Totally.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll switch back to Syntages for a second. Let's see. I know I want to do one of these. I think these are their older projects though, so I don't know if they want feedback on this. Oh, and this was the Learn Hindi app that we looked at earlier.
Yeah.
Let's look at this Neura Control one as our final review. Oh, this is kind of cool. Again, yeah, I like that you're setting us up. I'm not sure what's going on, but it
2030.
It intrigued me. It was just story. Political turmoil coupled with unprecedented technological advances have transformed society into a cyberpunk-esque dystopia. Wow.
Oh,
so we're developing a mobile interface for a Neuralink-inspired brain augmentation platform.
Whoa.
I love that. This is a whole new world.
Oh my gosh. What is this graphic?
I'm not sure.
I feel like I'm looking at the inside of a creative brain over here at Keanu's thing on the right.
Admin can view a live brain.
A live brain, yes.
And various stats for each employee. Oh, that is dark. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, for each employee.
Yeah,
Ooh.
you can keep track. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting, if you called out, hey, the main user of this app is gonna be the employer, the scary overlord employer, and they're interested in XYZ, which is why this app shows XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Then that makes me understand oh, okay, that's the intent behind this app, and I see Keanu's not doing very well. He has a C- rating in their brain right now. Oh my gosh, I don't want a scan of my brain. I don't know what it's gonna look like. They're operating at suboptimal efficiency. Oh boy. So yeah, I think you've done a great job kind of showing like the detail of again, kind of showing that like final product. But I think including a little bit more about the process is, just I think kind of amp up every project presentation.
Totally. Thanks for sharing. That was great.
These are rad. I think we have like 2 more minutes, but
like final questions or
final questions, concerns. Do you have any tips? Let's end up with like kind of general tips for portfolios.
For portfolios, again, like focus on your best work and the work that you want to be hired for. It is not about quantity. Even if you have 4 things, that's enough. And I also think like when you're like, it's sort of like imagine that you're building out brick by brick. So when you start off, like the bricks are going to be kind of like different, and there's like a white one here and like a muddy one there. But eventually you want to get to the point, I think, where like the bricks start to feel cohesive. And not to say that there's like you can't have range or anything like that, but I think it does help you stand out in somebody's mind as like, oh, this person is really strong at this.
Yes, for sure. Those are the portfolios that always stick out to me. But yeah, thanks, Erin, for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for
showing us for the Plant app. And that's all we've got time for today. And we'll meet you guys next week on Live Again.